Second reading of Bill C-427, reflecting the realities of Canadian Artists Act, standing in the name of Mr. Benskin.
Debate. The honourable member for Bonavista, Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Stop, please. The ego can't handle it, please. Thank you very much. And I would also like to thank the honourable member for bringing this forward. This has been something that's been talked about for quite some time. Actually, it was in practice in a general sense back in the 70s and 80s, and I believe it was around 87 when it was discontinued. The member from Jean Lebert, right. I want to congratulate him for bringing this forward. It is a comprehensive bill. If I said to him, I said, you know, when you look at when you amend the tax code this way and you use the formula to do it, there are probably only about 5 people that could truly understand how the formula works, and quite frankly, those 5 people should probably be locked away. It's really something. It's comprehensive, no doubt, but nonetheless, it is something that is necessary. So in the legislation itself, I want to congratulate the member because he did some fine work on it. So several things within it before I get into the discussion of the actual bill, and that is, of course, this is something for the industry, the arts industry in this country. People who create, people who disseminate material from their own creation, from their own imagination. The dissemination process today is not what it used to be. It's far more instantaneous. We're not even getting into the point we're talking about copies anymore. Now it's all about clouds and instant access for the world. So a lot of artists, it's difficult for them nowadays to recoup their investment in their own work, whether it be through music, whether it be through art itself, whether it be through productions, plays, movies, so on and so forth. But what this does is that it allows, through the tax code, these people to actually make a living, or at least get them to the point where they can make a better living and reap the benefits of what they do. And that's because of the nature of what they do and how they are able to receive remuneration. Because if you think about this one for a moment, they spend roughly 3 to 5 years writing a book. I'm not an author, but I'm assuming that I'm in the ballpark if you're looking at a major novel. 3 to 5 years, we'll say, to write a decent book. All of a sudden, you publish it, it's out there in the market, say if you're lucky, you get on the bestseller list for a period of about 2 months, 3 months maybe. The income comes in dramatically, most of that income in that period, then you go to paperback, of course, then you go to digital, and you get, slowly but surely, the amount of revenue received from this goes down, it dwindles. But all that money that you have received in income falls into one taxation period. If you received, counting all royalties, all revenues from the product that you've created, the work that you've created, then obviously you are going to be taxed at a higher level than if it was spaced over 3 to 5 years. Now remember, if you treat this like a normal job would be treated in the world of taxation, you should be taxed over that period when you worked on it. 3 to 5 years, maybe more. So there's an unfairness in this. There are other industries where that is the case. There used to be a situation where you could apply this principle to the general public. We no longer do that. And the reason why they changed it was they said that the tax rates, now they simplified the tax code way back when, late 80s, and the rates, the difference of rates between the top and the bottom were not as great. Therefore, they threw that concept out, saying that it wasn't as beneficial. Well, it is beneficial for certain industries to this day, and this is one of those industries. So what it does, you're allowing artists to average the income that they receive, artists we're talking about, average income over 2 to 5 year period, which is a good one. Now, we can debate and we can amend as to what that number would be, but certainly the principle is sound in the sense that you can actually take this and you can amortize it over a certain period of time that reflects the amount of work that you put into this body as opposed to all the money that you have received in a short period of time. That simply is the nature of the business. You know, Income averaging is a concept that dates way back to the agriculture, goes back to fisheries as well, where you get an incredible amount of money in a short period of time, and you try to average that out. Luckily, we have government programs to help you do that. Fishermen's EI is another example of that. It's not called income averaging, but that's essentially what they're doing. And that's essentially what you have, is that you get an average income over the course of the year instead of a short period of time. Now, many of these projects that we talk about when it comes to the artistic world reflect that nature. Now, you may have a project year over year, that sort of thing, and that's fine. Well, the bill doesn't, affect these people who are getting a steady income of that nature, but what it does, it helps even out for those who are on their own, because let's face it, I mean, artists in this country today, they're on their own, they're doing their own thing. Not only are they artists, but they have to become financial analysts, they have to become tax people. It's difficult for them to follow all the rules, given there's so many rules around what they do, because they're pretty much on their own. It's expensive to hire a tax accountant. But what we see here is that we see fairness in the tax system reflected in this bill. I may have neglected to mention, by the way, and you've probably already figured this out, but I'll be voting yes for this particular bill, just in case I give anybody the wrong impression. What? Yes, I know what you're saying. Yes, I didn't mean to hold it from you. My apologies. But I want to talk about this in the sense that the stakeholders who agree with this all over the artistic community, it's large, it's phenomenal. And this is why we've been talking about this issue for quite some time, because the stakeholders have talked about this ad nauseum. The individual who brought the bill here, an artist himself. I've seen him in movies. He's good at what he does. So, stakeholders who support Canadian Federation of Musicians, ACTRA, Independent Media Arts Alliance, Canadian Conference for the Arts as well. So you get the idea. These are broad umbrella groups that certainly give this a lot of support. The angst from all this is, I'm sure you'll hear, is that if we do it for this one group, do we do it for the others? Somebody once said to me, they said, well, if you can't do it for all, you shouldn't do it for any. Does that really make a lot of sense? What about when Saskatchewan created Medicare? Would the federal government at the time said, well, we can't really do that because, if you do it for one province, you got to do it for the rest. Well, we did do it for the rest. It took one province to show leadership and do it. By being a leader in this particular issue, the arts community could be the leader and open up for others. Now, granted, this, it can be an expensive endeavor. We realize that. In a time of austerity, we have to keep this in mind. But it certainly is one of those things that we allow these people to make a living to remain what they do. The other thing is, if you think about it, look how many of our talented people go south of the border. Would income averaging allow these people to have a better life in this country, where they don't have to go south of the border, particularly actors, people performing? Well, the numbers are out there. I think it would. Some people can argue that it wouldn't. It's hard to tell. But it certainly gives them a better footing in this country to be able to make a living, to pay their mortgages, to pay their vehicles, to help raise a family. And that, in essence, is what this is about. It's a social concern. It is something that provides this particular community with the tax fairness that they so need. Now, back in the last election campaign, the Liberal Party, we endorsed this. This is from the 2008 election. Support for Canada's arts and culture must also extend to support for artists themselves. That is why Liberal government will provide income averaging for artists, drawing on the inspiration of Quebec's income averaging provisions. Aha, there we go. We finally have a leader here, a province that looks at how this is done, similar to the way the province of Quebec handled pensions, similar to the way Saskatchewan handled Medicare. So this could be the vanguard, or what Quebec represented was a vanguard to how this plan can be implemented. Costing. Finance Canada estimates the income averaging bill, C-427, would cost the federal treasury approximately $10 million per year. It's not a lot in total spending for this particular government. It would estimate that this measure would benefit approximately 55,000 individuals with an average benefit of $130 or more. So you get the idea that it is not a tremendous measure. It's not a great anchor hoisted upon, our federal treasury, but it's something that will go a long way to the individual artists or artist groups who want to receive fairness from the tax system and to make a living in this country without having to go somewhere else. Again, I applaud my colleague for bringing this forward. Thank you very much.